Me. She's a national threat. I heard Arabic. Call Homeland now. That's what our HOA president shrieked into her phone at 3 a.m. because my wife came home with a military case and a limp. Me. But what Beverly didn't know was the woman she just lived streamed to 5,000 people isn't just my wife. She's a federal agent with a 200 million bounty on her head. Me, and by pressing, go live, Beverly didn't stop a terrorist, she woke one up. Comment below where you're watching from. My wife Nina is the type who burns toast, forgets her phone, me, and cries when dogs die in movies. She also happens to be a senior federal agent who's dismantled arms rings on 4 continents, but to our HOA president, she was just the new Asian lady with scary luggage. When I picked her up from the airport at 3 a.m., she didn't even say hello. Just dropped 2 black Pelican cases into the trunk and muttered, "No one followed me, right?" To which I, still half asleep and chewing a gas station donut, said, "Only the HOA." Me and Beverly's probably got binoculars. Little did I know she had more than that. She had a Facebook group, a live stream, and a god complex. We got home just before dawn. Nina looked like she'd been to hell. Stopped for souvenirs, and came back wearing trauma as an accessory. She didn't say much, just disassembled her Glock on the kitchen table, while I made her the strongest coffee on this side of the Patriot Act. I saw the red, labeled military cases on our porch and whispered, "Should we bring those in?" She shrugged. "Can't leave 200 AKs out in the open. HOA might file a complaint." I laughed. She didn't. Me. That's how I knew the mission had been bad. Not long after, I spotted Beverly across the street in her signature silk robe and suspicious stance. Half yoga, half snitch. She was squinting so hard at our window. Me. I'm surprised her eyeballs didn't file harassment charges. By the time I found pants and a semblance of a personality, Nina had already noticed Beverly filming. "Ignore her," I said. Nina didn't. Me. She walked over, pulled the blinds shut, and locked the deadbolt in one motion. When I asked if she was okay, she replied, "She's about to become someone else's problem." I thought that meant she'd file a complaint. I didn't realize she meant Homeland Security's workload was about to expand. Meanwhile, Beverly had already posted the video. "She's a terrorist. I saw the weapons. Call the FBI now." Comments range from "OMG" to "air those Muslim cases?" Whatever that means. Someone even tagged Infowars. Me. This wasn't paranoia anymore. It was Facebook-fueled espionage cosplay. The part that really blew my mind, Nina wasn't even fazed. She read Beverly's captions like a declassified briefing and calmly said, "Well, I'm viral." I, on the other hand, was trying to remember if we still had that Ring doorbell footage of Beverly yelling at a squirrel for trespassing. I figured it might help in court. Me. But Nina didn't want revenge. No, she wanted documentation. "Let her talk," she said. "Let her build the case." I'd never seen her like this, cold, calculated. Like a chess master watching a toddler swallow a pawn. Beverly thought she was protecting the neighborhood. What she didn't know was she was about to evacuate it, with a federal subpoena in each hand. If you've ever seen someone mistake confidence for criminality, or if your neighbor once called 911 over a drone-shaped balloon, next part is for you. Next time, Beverly shows up with screenshots, binder tabs, me, and enough delusion to choke Congress. You'll want popcorn. Nothing says "good morning" like a suburban patriot with a binder full of printed screenshots and a vendetta against your kitchen window. At 7:02 a.m., before caffeine even had time to enter my bloodstream, I heard it, the unmistakable sound of justice in orthopedic sandals. Me. I opened the door to find Beverly Crutchfield standing on our porch like she'd just been personally summoned by the Constitution. Me. She wore her signature smug smile and held a hot pink binder labeled in block letters. "O pure Ion Kit American." You know someone's lost the plot when their patriotism is color-coded. Beverly didn't say hello. She presented evidence, blurry photos, screenshots from her own live stream, me, and what looked like a map of our living room labeled "possible ammo cache." She flipped open a tab marked "suspicious behaviors" and said, "I heard foreign languages. We have protocols, Dave." I blinked. "You mean the Hebrew and Arabic Nina speaks? You do know she's multilingual and married to me, right?" Beverly wasn't listening. She was flipping through printed AOA bylaws like they were holy scripture. Section 12.4. Items brought into the community must be declared if they appear military or suspicious in nature. She pointed at the binder like it could perform an arrest. Nina walked into the kitchen mid-binder lecture, wearing pajama pants, holding a steaming mug, and field stripping her Glock with the same casual precision most people use to make toast. She paused, looked Beverly up and down, then sipped her coffee without a word. Beverly turned to her and said, "You can't just bring federal weapons into our neighborhood and expect us to feel safe." Nina blinked slowly, then replied, "That's funny. I used to say the same thing in Baghdad, except people actually were hiding explosives. The air got quiet, too quiet. You could hear a dove sigh. Me. Then Beverly fired her next shot. And we've received complaints about her tone. Several residents heard her using aggressive dialects outside the cultural norm. At that point I should have walked away. Me. But I needed to see what aggressive dialects meant. She ordered coffee in Farsi. From her own phone, I said. Beverly looked scandalized. We don't know what that phone is doing. Me. I've already contacted the HOA board to discuss a new suspicious activity protocol. That's when Nina, still disassembling her Glock like it was a Lego set, quietly said, I'd be careful, Beverly. It's illegal to photograph and film federal property. And you're circulating images of me on social media. That's already 1 foot in a legal bear trap. The calmness in her voice wasn't a threat. It was a promise wrapped in paperwork. I saw Beverly flinch, barely, but the delusion held strong. Beverly's final swing came as she stormed down our walkway. Me. Binder still clutched like it contained the nuclear codes. She turned and shouted, I'm not afraid of you, Nina! This is my country! Nina just raised her coffee mug in a mock toast. Great, me. Then I assume you'll enjoy exercising your right to remain silent eventually. I swear Beverly tripped on her own principle on the way off the lawn. Inside, Nina finally cracked a grin. She brought a scrapbook to a gunfight. And I knew, we were just getting started. Me never underestimate a woman who's survived a basement in Damascus but still has the patience to let a retired PTA queen monologue about bylaws. If you thought Beverly's binder was dangerous, me. Wait till you see what she does with Facebook polls and neighborhood watch walkie-talkies. Beverly once tried to evict a trampoline. Her logic, me. It attracts chaos. So imagine what she thought about Nina, who didn't bounce but absolutely attracted chaos in the form of tactical boots, federal clearance, and a Glock beside the coffee pot, me. You'd think Beverly would have run out of energy after Bindergate, but no, she'd only just discovered the dark arts of community Facebook groups. And like any HOA sorceress, me, she didn't need facts, just Wi-Fi and a suspicious amount of toner. By noon her livestream had morphed into full suburban wildfire. Local Facebook was a war zone. Me. One post asked if foreign gun cases could leak radiation. Another demanded a school-wide review of my literature syllabus because I was probably teaching terror poems. I teach Shakespeare, me. But apparently Othello is now considered suspicious content. Nina read the posts like a field report and murmured, me. The internet has replaced torches with comment threads. And then we saw it. The flyer taped to our car windshield, printed in Comic Sans, of course, me. Go back to where you came from. The message was sharp, the font was tragic. Nina stared at the flyer like it was something decomposing. She didn't flinch, just walked inside, grabbed her phone. Removed the psalm, crushed it with a mallet, doused it in rubbing alcohol, and lit it on fire over the kitchen sink. Too many signals. Burn it, she said, like she was ordering a pizza. I stood there, halfway between awe and panic, Googling how to protect a federal agent from racists with Zoom accounts. Meanwhile, Beverly was in her driveway, waving her phone like a wand and yelling things like, This is America! We have rights! Her son Tyler peeked through their curtains like a hostage. The fear wasn't just digital anymore. It showed up in sideways glances at the grocery store and whispers in the parking lot. Nina walked a little stiffer, her eyes scanning like she never really left the field. She told me, this is how it starts. One lie at a time. That night, she had another nightmare, sweating. Me speaking Arabic in her sleep, flinching like every sound was a breach. I held her until she calmed down, whispering, You're safe now, even though I wasn't sure we were. The next morning, I found her loading her Glock beside the toaster. She looked at me and said, If someone kicks the door, don't hesitate. That's when I realized we weren't dealing with an HOA problem anymore. We were in psychological combat with a woman who thought Nina was ISIS meets IK. Fear spreads faster than wildfire in dry brush, but stupidity spreads even faster when it's printed in Comic Sans and posted next to a mailbox shaped like an eagle. And the only thing more dangerous than Nina's mission record, Beverly's comment section, with 2,000 likes and 0 brain cells. Smash that comment like you're filing an HOA appeal with a flamethrower. When a woman in a flag sweater starts quoting the Constitution wrong, you know you're about to get accused of something unconstitutional. That's exactly what happened when Troy Delaney, our neighbor 3 houses down and a Marine with a knee that predicted weather, showed up on our doorstep with a grim expression and a meat smoker catalog under his arm. Heads up, he said, scratching his buzzed scalp like the info physically hurt. Beverly's gone door to door. She's saying your wife's part of something called Operation Takedown Suburbia. Nina didn't even blink. She just muttered, creative, I'll give her that. According to Troy, Beverly was now handing out laminated index cards with Patrioteidun steps, printed in Comic Sans, including bold instructions like, "Document suspicious rhythms of speech." You'd think she was fighting Cold War sleeper cells instead of bothering people who compost. "She's got a vision board with your face in the center," Troy added, looking like he wished he were exaggerating. Nina tilted her head. "Kohler. Coated strings. Red yarn, yeah." He nodded. "Me. You're connected to the mayor, a gas station, and a halal market." Nina sipped her tea like she was watching a rerun. That's one conspiracy theory away from becoming a daytime documentary. That night, Nina's past came back in brutal HD. She jolted out of sleep at 2:47 a.m., drenched in sweat, speaking Hebrew mixed with Arabic, clutching the Glock she now kept under the pillow. Her shirt had twisted up, revealing the old scar across her ribs, jagged and raised, a roadmap of a place no one should have to revisit. I didn't say anything. I just sat next to her and breathed in rhythm, like I could calm a storm with exhale and silence. She whispered, "It wasn't the pain that broke people. It was the waiting between sessions." And just like that, I understood what service costs, not in medals or press conferences, but in the way someone flinches when a door slams too hard. The next morning we found Beverly's latest opus. A video uploaded under the title, "My Neighbor, the Terrorist, What They Don't Want You to Know." It opened with a slideshow of blurry photos she'd taken through our window. Nina disassembling her firearm. Packages marked, "Federal," and a voiceover in her fake, sweet, concerned citizen voice saying, "I'm not saying she's a threat, but she knows too much about ammo to be normal." The music, suspenseful piano, the source, probably a YouTube library for amateur crime podcasts. Nina watched it once stone-faced, then deleted the tab. "Let her dig," she said flatly. Deeper hole means louder echo when it collapses. But the internet doesn't believe in moderation. Within hours the video had 9,200 views and rising, with a comment section that made a war zone look polite. Some users were screaming, "Deep State operative," while others claimed Nina was the female Jason Bourne. One genius commented, "Her plants are too green. Photosynthesis can hide chemicals. I couldn't make this up if I tried." Nina just looked at me and said, "If this hits the wrong inbox, we're gonna have company, and wouldn't you know it." At 11:59 p.m., just as we were locking up, a trio of black SUVs rolled onto our street like they'd RSVP'd to a very different block party. Heroes don't wear capes. But apparently idiots do wear silk robes and weaponize group chats like medieval scrolls of nonsense. She survived Damascus, but now Nina has to survive something even more dangerous. A viral HOA conspiracy video. And someone in those SUVs isn't here for cookies and conversation. What happens when the knock comes and Beverly starts filming again? Beverly used to livestream her Zumba class. Badly, I might add. The woman danced like a broomstick taped to a ceiling fan. But ever since she discovered the "Go Leave" button could double as a digital courtroom, she's been livestreaming her delusions like they're gospel. So when the FBI showed up at 1100 p.m. in 3 black SUVs, she did what any red, white, and unhinged HOA president would do. She hit record and shouted into the night, "She's got foreign energy! I can feel it!" I half expected her to summon Paul Revere. The agents didn't even blink. They had badges, body armor, and the look of people who'd seen worse things than a woman in a sequined flag sweater holding a ring light. Nina stepped forward like she wasn't in pajamas but in full battle dress, calm, centered, and carrying that "don't test me" posture. She reached into her jacket and pulled out 3 IDs like she was dealing poker, ATF Homeland, and one so classified I swear it blinked back. The lead agent took a look, straightened up like a cadet, and said, "Agent Morrison, we weren't told you were back in country." Nina replied, "Neither was the HOA." Then came the monologue to end all monologues. Nina said, "Last week, I intercepted $500 million worth of illegal arms. 200 AKs, 50 Glocks, and explosives enough to light up Times Square. So forgive me if I forgot to notify the welcome committee." The crowd, silent. Beverly, "Not so much." She clutched her phone and screeched, "She just admitted it! She's armed! She's dangerous!" She speaks explosive. And then, either from shock, ego buffering, or dramatic flair, she dropped like a Victorian aunt at a fainting party. Her livestream didn't stop, though. It kept rolling. Catching her fall, her lawn, and about 8,000 viewers gasping like it was the Super Bowl. The FBI didn't even glance at her. One agent calmly leaned into his radio and said, "Subject 2 appears compromised by hysteria, possibly decaf withdrawal." Meanwhile, Nina turned to the camera and addressed the stream directly. "To all 8,000 of you watching, I risk my life to keep your families safe. You're welcome." That's when Beverly's phone overheated, literally. It let out a sad beep and shut down mid-comment thread. Her reputation did the same. Neighbors watching from their porches started whispering, not about Nina, but about how Beverly's the type to accidentally report the Girl Scouts for trafficking carbs. We walked back inside past Beverly, who was flat on her lawn, half conscious and still clutching her binder like it could resurrect her dignity. Inside, Nina poured herself a glass of wine and said, "You know, I liked it better when I was just the weird neighbor with no casserole dish." I handed her the corkscrew and said, "Welcome home, Agent Morrison." For the first time in days, she smiled without flinching. There's a fine line between national security and neighborhood stupidity. Beverly didn't just cross it, she tap danced over it in glitter fonts and neon lawn signs. But Beverly hadn't even started losing yet, The lawsuits were marinating, the emails were leaking, and her own son. He was about to play whistleblower with a flash drive and a guilty conscience. Beverly's lawyer showed up in Velcro shoes, khakis with knee creases from 1998, and a manila folder that might as well have been labeled Exhibit Delusion. He kept saying, "Let's circle back," like he'd accidentally wandered out of a bad HR meeting. Meanwhile, Beverly, wrapped in a silk scarf patterned with bald eagles, stood next to him like she was running for president of a refrigerator magnet cult. "I have a right to know what my neighbor's hiding," she barked at Agent Johnson. "That's what this country was built on." The man didn't even blink. "Mom, that's not how the Fourth Amendment works." And just when we thought the HOA soap opera had hit peak absurdity, Beverly unveiled her Pace de Assistance, a whistleblower email allegedly from inside the ATF. It was riddled with typos and Comic Sans and contained phrases like "sacred double life uncovered" and "confirmed terrorist behavior inkle." Hummus. Nina read it once and said, "I've seen more credible documents from a fortune cookie." But it was her son Tyler who really brought the fireworks. He showed up red-eyed and clutching a flash drive like it held national secrets, which, to be fair, it almost did. She wrote the email herself, he said, voice shaking, on our family computer. And she practiced reading it out loud to our cat. What Tyler revealed next could have taken down a small dictatorship. He brought printouts of forged community reports, a spreadsheet of HO funds redirected to safety upgrades that turned out to be spa packages, and most damning of all, a 37-page manifesto titled, "Preserving the Purity of Porch Decor." Highlights included banning foreign flora, outlawing wind chimes that sound too Eastern, and a color wheel that classified patio furniture as patriotic or suspect. Agent Johnson blinked slowly and said, "This might be the first time I've seen HOA policy classified as hate speech." But the kicker, the real blow that finally cracked the HOA paranoia dome, was when the FBI ran a full sweep of the neighborhood. Turns out Beverly had installed 47 hidden cameras. That's right, 47, including one in a neighbor's bathroom vent, one inside a plastic flamingo, and one drilled into a fake solar light near the Garcias mailbox. Nina, reviewing the footage with Johnson, muttered, "If she'd used this much effort in community service, we'd have flying trash pickup drones by now." Johnson looked at the list and added, "She's got better surveillance coverage than most embassies." It was like watching a documentary unravel in real time. Tyler, guilt written all over his face, said, "I just wanted to fix it before someone else got hurt." And in that moment, I didn't see a confused college kid. I saw the first honest person to step out from the shadow of Beverly's flag-colored chaos. Nina reached over and handed him a copy of the real ATF clearance protocols. "You did good," she said quietly. "No, let's finish this. You can't protect a neighborhood by turning it into North Korea with begonias. Paranoia dressed in red, white, and blue is still just fear on stilts." But Beverly wasn't done yet. She still had one more HOA rally planned, complete with a banner that read, "The Real Emma Truth, Terror, and Tulips." What she didn't know, this rally was going to have special guests, the kind that don't RSVP, they deploy. The HOA meeting kicked off with little American flag cupcakes and a PowerPoint titled, "The Truth About Nina Morrison." There were folding chairs, lukewarm lemonade, and Beverly standing at the podium like she was leading a military tribunal in a Hobby Lobby. "This is a neighborhood, not a war zone," she declared with dramatic pauses between words, like she thought punctuation made her right. One neighbor whispered, "Did she just bring a laser pointer to a legal gunfight?" Yes, she did, Beverly clicked through her slideshow like she was unveiling classified secrets, but the images were blurry screenshots and photos she took while hiding in bushes. "As you can see, she has tactical boots," she pointed out, zooming in on a foot. The crowd murmured, but not in agreement, right as she launched into slide 6, titled "Suspicious Foliage on Porch." Agent Johnson calmly walked to the stage, unplugged her laptop, and plugged in his own. The screen went black, then came alive with combat footage. Real footage. me. The kind with night, vision and chaos and a certain someone saving hostages in a place Beverly couldn't pronounce. Then came Colonel Shalev, me, straight out of Tel Aviv with medals on medals and a voice like gravel dipped in command. He stepped up to the mic, nodded once, and said, "This woman saved my entire team. She is not a threat. She is the reason I'm alive." That alone could have ended the show, but then Rachel Goldstein hobbled forward. "I was 19, she said, lifting her shirt sleeve to reveal a scar. "Agent Morrison protected me from men who would have killed me for a headline." The crowd silent. The HOA treasurer dropped her cupcake. Bob from down the block whispered, "We're the bad guys, aren't we?" Beverly, meanwhile, was twitching like a dollar store Wi-Fi router in a thunderstorm. "This is all deep state propaganda," she screeched, ripping the mic out of its stand. "They're here to silence me because I knew too much! I have a right to defend my subdivision!" Tyler stood up, visibly shaking, and faced the entire room. "No, Mom, you have a right to remain silent." "And for once, maybe use it," his voice cracked. "You almost got someone killed because you couldn't stand the idea of being wrong." He turned to the agents. "I have everything. The forged documents, the money trail, the manifesto. It wasn't just a betrayal, it was a full emancipation." Johnson stepped forward again with the final nail: 11 federal charges. Distribution of sensitive agent data, use of surveillance without consent, false reporting, misuse of HOA funds, and endangerment of a protected federal operative under active threat level Alpha. Beverly's jaw dropped, her scarf fluttered, and someone in the back muttered, "She's gonna go full My Pillow lady." But Beverly had already begun screaming, "I am a patriot! This is a witch hunt! Trump will save me," as the FBI gently escorted her toward the back of the room and, eventually, into federal custody with all the grace of a neighbor being evicted from her own fantasy. If you're going to go toe-to-toe with a woman who survived black site interrogations, maybe don't bring a binder, a slogan, and a laser pointer. But the real twist, what happened after Beverly got cuffed? It wasn't just poetic, it was approved poetic justice with frosting. Every neighborhood's got one. The person who files noise complaints about wind chimes and thinks diversity is a type of weed. Ours. She got 15 years in federal prison and now shares a bunk with a woman named Specie Diane, who used to hack vending machines. The last we heard, Beverly was trying to run an HOA in cell block D, citing too much individuality in the crochet patterns. Her lawyer, the Velcro-shoed legend, tried to appeal on the grounds of overzealous patriotism. The judge laughed, twice. Meanwhile, Tyler took all that HOA trauma and turned it into fuel. The kid went full Phoenix mode, got into law school, clerked for a civil rights judge, and started a nonprofit called Neighborly Justice. He even testified before Congress on HOA abuse and local surveillance laws. Nina wrote his recommendation letter. It ended with, "He knows what happens when paranoia picks the wrong woman." When he graduated, he didn't throw his cap. He launched it like a classified drone strike on suburban tyranny. As for Nina, she doesn't wear her medals, doesn't flaunt her accolades, but she displays one thing in our hallway, right next to the dog leash and a key hook shaped like Texas. It's a small glass case holding Rachel Goldstein's necklace, a Star of David, engraved on the back, "My guardian angel, me." Nina says it's the only honor she didn't have to earn through pain. It was given freely. That's what matters. And every time I look at it, I remember that the bravest people rarely speak the loudest, they just carry the heaviest stuff without telling you. The neighborhood changed too, We now have lawn signs that say, "Veterans welcome," "No surveillance without consent," and one that just says, "If you're thinking of starting drama, keep walking." Mike Rodriguez hosts block parties with zero HOA interference. Linda from down the street runs a free Arabic language night for kids, The Garcias planted a multicultural garden out front, full of so-called foreign flora that somehow haven't triggered the end of American values. The vibe, less Cold War, more cookout. Nobody misses the binder meetings. And the only thing we regulate now is who brings what to potlucks. Spoiler: Nina makes a deadly hummus. And the final twist. Nina got invited to teach counterintelligence at Quantico. That's right, the same FBI agents who were tricked by Beverly's Facebook livestream now take notes from the woman they nearly detained. "Ma'am, please explain again how we got duped by a lady with a Patriot dog filter," one cadet asked during her first seminar. Nina just smiled, poured herself a cup of coffee, and said, "Because the enemy doesn't always speak Arabic. Sometimes she speaks HOA. See, this wasn't just a battle against one nosy neighbor. It was a mirror held up to everything broken about fear, assumptions, and weaponized ignorance." Beverly wanted control. Nina had courage. And in the end, it wasn't bullets or medals or even FBI agents that brought justice. It was truth. Quiet, stubborn, unshakable truth. So if you're listening, Let this be your takeaway: real patriots don't scream into Facebook live streams. They show up when it counts. Real heroes don't need a spotlight, they just need someone to finally listen. And when the world tells you to hide who you are, stand taller, louder, smarter, because maybe the most dangerous thing in any neighborhood is a woman who's done hiding. If this story hit you somewhere real, smash that like button. Leave us a comment if you've ever dealt with your own Beverly, or want to shout out someone who stands their ground with integrity. Subscribe so you don't miss the next wild, hilarious, or heartfelt story we've got cooking, because around here, justice comes with receipts and a side of sarcasm. Thanks for riding with us. And remember, the HOA didn't know, but now they do.